What's up, guys? Welcome back to Classic Octane. I am Taylor. So today we are back on the 78 CB750 project. Name of the game today is I'd like to get the Dyna S ignition installed, so that's going to be the meat of this video. But before we do that, I want to make sure the bike is running. So I pulled the entire engine out, replaced the whole wiring harness. This bike has been all the way apart. So I want to make sure everything was put back together. We get the bike up and running on the old point style ignition, just to take all those other variables out of the equation. Once we confirm that all that is good, we can start to pull apart the ignition and get it upgraded. So what I need to do is kind of double check and make sure everything is plugged in. We got all our wires and everything hooked up. I need to actually get my auxiliary tank and put some fuel in the carbs. And then I think we can hit the key and, if all goes well, she'll fire up. Again, I have never heard this bike run before, so kind of to be determined if we're going to need to dig into the points and file them. It's going to be like a quick will it run video, hopefully not very exciting, because ideally it just will. So I need to get the external fuel tank. So since I moved my lift, I don't have the little hook above it, so I'll probably just hold it, try to fill the bowls up as much as possible, or maybe make some kind of makeshift thing to hold my auxiliary fuel tank, and then yeah, let's see what happens. All right, I actually already found a hook in my ceiling, so that's super convenient, so we'll just use that. I will hook this up. We will see if we can fill these bowls properly. Okay. Let's go back here, pull the choke. Have to adjust that. Okay. Turn the key on. Our coils are still on. See what happens. I don't want to run it for too long in here, because I know the exhaust wrap and everything is going to start smoking, but she fires up. Obviously we haven't done any tuning, any adjustments of the idle mixtures, anything like that at all, so it's not going to run perfect, but I just wanted to make sure it fired up and ran and did what it's supposed to do. So whew, that's exciting. You can already see the exhaust wrap smoking a little bit there, so sweet. Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to do before we dive into the electronic ignition. So let's go ahead and do that. So now that we know we're starting with a running engine, we will remove the ignition system. So on this side of the bike, you'll have a cover. It's just the one that says Honda on it. It's got like two little JIS or Phillips screws in it. You'll remove those. That'll gain you access to the points themselves. And then you'll see the wires coming off of it. So these are just the two wires that are running up to the coils. It's a blue and a yellow wire. One side is for number 1 and number 4 cylinder. The other side is for number 2 and number 3. So we're gonna remove it. Basically, there's these 3 screws, same screws that you would take off to adjust the timing and be able to slide that back and forth. We're gonna pull those 3 off, and then we're gonna pull off this little 10mm nut right here in the center. Once we remove this nut, this whole cover right here, the bigger hex nut will come off, and then actually the whole points plate can slide over. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. So that's going to be completely removed. And then this is the advance mechanism here. So it's got little arms and little springs that kind of, as the engine increases in RPMs, the weights kind of come out, and that's what advances your timing. So we're going to be pulling this off as well, because this little center part is what they call a rotor. And the Dyna S ignition system comes with a new rotor. So this new rotor, you see that little shiny circle on there? That is actually a magnet. And that is what becomes your pickup for the electronic ignition to know where the engine is while it's spinning. So now we're going to need to swap over this old rotor with this one. Let me see if I can set you guys up on a tripod or something and show you how to do this. All right, hopefully you guys will be able to see this. So this is the advance mechanism. It's got a little TF14 on the top. On the bottom, it's going to have a T and an F and a 2, 3. That's for cylinder 1 and number 4, number 2 and number 3. So to remove this rotor, we're going to turn it to the right. And again, I hope you guys can see this. Turn it to the right and then pull. And you can see there's like a little notch on each side that engages with the weights. And that's going to let us pull that right off. So it's got the little notches. Weights are on there. So we're going to put that rotor to the side. On the Dyna rotor, there are little notches as well. So those little notches correspond with the little tabs that we just pulled out. Just when you put this on, make sure that you have the number 1 and number 4 up. And then that little magnet I just showed you guys, it's just like a little circle that's, you know, kind of got a little bit of a gloss to it. That's going to go to the left to re-engage these. So this can be a little bit tricky. You just got to kind of spread the weights with your fingers a little bit, and then try to position the rotor in place just like that. Boom. Now we can put this mechanism back on the crank. So there's a little pinhole right here that corresponds with that little pin on the back. So when you put this on, you want to make sure, just like that it lines up properly. You don't want this free spinning on there. You want it to be locked into the crank so that it's actually going to spin like it's supposed to. Now we can actually put back on this little hex with the lock nut. Once we have that back on and tightened, we can get this old points plate out of the way, and we'll be installing the new one. To get this points plate out of the way, we just need to disconnect the blue and yellow wire, and then the whole wire will feed through this grommet in the engine case here. Got the points plate back on. It's not fully tightened down because we still need to do the static timing, but we'll do that here in a minute. Wire run through. You can reuse this factory grommet. You just need to cut it, you know, one side of it with a razor blade so you can wrap it around this wire, because all this stuff is not going to fit through the little hole. So if you cut one side, you can wrap it around and then tuck it all in there. This is going to be routed just the same way right over here. So this part, there's a couple different options of what you can do, but basically what the ignition needs is it's going to have your signal, your yellow and your blue. Very simple, just go to your yellow and blue. This red wire is looking for a key on 12 volt source. So there's a couple of different places on a bike you can get that. The one they give you in the kit uses these splice connectors that I despise and refuse to use on my bike or a customer bike. I just have had bad luck with them splitting the wire and causing shorts, and they're a nightmare to diagnose. So I'm not going to use that. But what they want you to do is to run that to, I believe, the keys on for the coils, probably the black with the white wire that's a switched, you know, key on to kill the bike. What I'm going to do is run it off of right here. Right here, there's a solid black wire that goes to the rear brake light switch. On classic Hondas, black wires are key on 12 volts. So it's exactly what we need. It'll be on when the key's on. It will be off when the key is off. So what I did is I took this little factory bullet connector that has two female ends on one side. I added my own male bullet connector on the other side, so that will plug into the power there, and then the male from the rear brake light switch will go in one side, We will cut this connector off and put another male bullet connector on this side, and that will go into the other side. So that will then be splitting our key on powered. One goes to the brake light switch, the other goes to the Dyna. It keeps all of the ignition wiring all right here together. We don't have any other wires running anywhere else on the bike. So that's how we're gonna operate it here. Again, there's probably 10 different ways you could wire it, but this is how I'm gonna do it because it's nice and clean and simple and the wires are already here for us. Now we're ready to set the timing on the bike. So I'm gonna do my best to show you guys this. It's gonna be a little bit hard to see in here. So basically what I did is you have a test light, you connect it to the blue wire, you keep them connected, you just kind of slide it up into the connection there, ground to the other side. So that means our test light is going to light up when there is power on that circuit. Then we need to turn on the key. And also, if you have the bike wired up the way I have it wired, make sure to turn on your kill switch as well so that the coils have power, because we want the entire ignition system powered up right now to be able to test this. You'll be chasing your tail a little bit if you have your coils turned off, because this light will never turn on. Ask me how I know. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna set number 1 and number 4 first, which is this left side pickup. So I'm gonna try and get this in there. If you guys see, let me mess around with the light and see if I can hopefully show you. But there is a TF1-4 in there. There's that little mark on the crank, and then there's a little mark. There's actually 2 little marks right there. The left one has a little white mark on it. That's somebody just did that in the past. And there's one more little notch on the side there. And I really hope you guys can see that. But basically it's a TF about a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch over a number 1-number 4, and then 2 little lines. So what we're trying to do is we want to line up to that far right line when the rotor is all the way advanced. So right now we can twist this. You can see how it turns on. And what that's doing is it's fully advancing that mechanism that we tried in there. So we want, when the mechanism is fully advanced, for that light just to come on as those 2 marks line up. And again, I really hope that this is making sense. So mine, I know for sure, is off a little bit. So we will back, and this is gonna be hard to do with one hand, but we'll back the motor up a little bit. Just using a, whatever, 24mm socket on this guy right here. Advance this all the way, it's off. Let me figure out a better way to mount you guys so that I can use both my hands and show you. All right, we got you guys set up over there. It's about as good of an angle as I can get, but basically what I'm gonna do is with my left hand, I'm gonna twist this little advanced rotor, the one we just installed, all the way to the right. And then I'm also gonna start to turn the engine clockwise until the light turns on. So the light's on, but I'm still probably an 1/8 inch away from that line where it should be. So what I'm gonna do is undo just a little bit these 3 screws so that we can rotate this plate. I'm gonna rotate the plate. Well, let's try clockwise a little bit. I'm gonna tighten up a little bit so it stays while I have my hands off of it. Turn this. Let's see. Ooh, that's pretty darn close. But I'm gonna do it just a little bit more. Like that. Boom, right there. So that's just turning on. So we can test that by backing the engine up a little bit, turning that rotor, turn the engine over, light just turns on as those marks line up. So that means our number 1 and number 4 are lined up properly. We can tighten these down. Now to adjust 2 and 3, it's going to be the same procedure, but instead of moving the plate, we actually move the pickup itself. So we'll rotate 180 degrees. We'll see a 2-3 and then those same 2 lines. We also need to make sure to remember to move this over now to the yellow wire, which is for 2 and 3. So let me move this. rotate the engine 180 degrees, and I'll bring you guys back. Okay, test lights moved over. Let's start rotating. When we get close, should be a little bit more. Actually, I think I just passed it right about there. Okay, so this one's definitely going to be off because I'm coming up to the line right now. Oh, it may be perfect actually. Let's test it. We'll back it up. Okay, turn the rotor to the right. Coming up to the line right now. Sweet. We didn't have to adjust that at all. So see if I can show you guys. Down in there, there's the 2 and 3, and then there's 2 little lines, and I'm fully aware that that's gonna be hard for you to see, but I'm gonna do my best to show it to you. And we have, it's just on that right hash mark when that rotor is fully advanced. Our light turns on. So that should be it, and those should already still be locked down. We can double check, but that's gonna be our static timing, so that should get us up and running. What do you say we give it a shot? Have you guys set back up over on the table. We're just gonna leave that off for now. Let's turn our fuel back on. Keys on. We should be good to go. I'm gonna try it with no choke at first. All right, I lied. Let's give it some choke. That's it. Well, as simple as that, guys. I hope this takes some of the mystery out of installing. I hope this takes some of the mystery out of installing. Hey, there we go. An electronic ignition. It really is not that complicated. There's 3 wires. You know, it definitely looks like a more daunting task than it really is. So I hope that this encourages you guys to kind of get out there and give it a shot. Let me know if you run into questions. I'll help you however I can. But again, I hope that this kind of demystifies an electronic ignition. It really is a great upgrade for these classic Hondas. You get better cold starts, it revs better. I'm just a big fan of them. You know, there's going to be the old timers that are going to say the points are the way to go because they've worked for 50 years and why change it. I'm kind of lean towards the new school of, hey, the technology has come a long way in the last 50 years. Let's use some of that technology to make our bikes just a little bit more reliable. That's what I'm going to call it on this one, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you think about the sound of the CB750. I'm going to get questions on this video, I'm sure. This is a Delcovic 4-into-1 exhaust with a Cone Engineering 12-inch shorty muffler. The Delcovic exhaust is available a lot of different places. I get the Cone Engineering mufflers through Dime City. I'm sure you could probably find them somewhere else as well. It is my go-to setup for classic Hondas. It sounds excellent on 550s, sounds great on 750s. So I highly recommend it. The Dyna S is available at a lot of different places as well. I'll go ahead and throw a link in the description as well, just so you guys know exactly which kit I used. This install is almost identical actually pretty much is identical on the CB500 and 550s as well. So if you have one of those bikes, this install will carry over. You should be able to utilize this information for those bikes. So thanks for watching, guys. Again, let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you on the next video.